my God, Canada has apparently experienced its day of infamy. What is it this time, you say? Well, PPC leader Maxime Bernier has allegedly assaulted and doxxed members of the beloved media party. Well, sort of. By way of explanation, Bernier had mentioned 3 mainstream media reporters in a tweet, calling them idiots and describing their efforts to question him as disgusting smear jobs. He then made note of their email addresses and urged supporters to give them a piece of their minds. This apparently is doxing. Yeah, except that it isn't. Doxing would be sending out the home addresses of those journalists, something Bernier would never do, and he didn't do. He distributed email addresses that are already publicly available. I mean, why would a journalist want to keep his or her email secret? You want to be accessible to sources and whistleblowers and your own audience, right? As for the assaults, well, those would be written assaults. Now, granted, some of the emails sent by some PPC supporters were vile indeed, from rape threats to comments that reeked of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Those emails are indeed despicable and need to be condemned. But these emails were not sent out by Mr. Bernier. By the way, folks, you should see the email garbage we receive here at Rebel. For months, there was some crazy individual who always prefaced his attack on me by stating, quote, "How can we trust anything David Menzies says, given that he is a convicted pedophile," end quote. You know, I didn't go running to the Canadian Association of Journalists. Rather, I laughed at the perverse absurdity of it, and I moved on. Oh, and of course, going to the CAJ would be a fool's errand. They only stand up for the offended MSM types. Remember when my colleague Sheila Gunn-Reid was physically assaulted at a feminist rally in Edmonton by a pathetic soy boy named Dion Buse?
Ezra Levant, fuck you.
Okay, so wouldn't you say that it would be feminine? No, I'm just asking you a question. Do I seem unreasonable to you?
Yes, you seem unreasonable.
Because they seem really pleasant. Am I coming across as pleasant right now there?
Yeah, absolutely. We're just trying to have a conversation here.
I'm trying to have a conversation with you.
Go away. Get out of my fucking face. I will break your camera. You do not have the right to...
Whoa!
Guys, stop. Let's calm down. Calm down.
You don't have the right to film me everywhere you go.
Yes, she does. Just like
Yeah, I do. You just hit me in the face. No, don't tell me to calm down.
I'm not
That
telling you.
guy
Yeah, you
hit
guys should
me in
move
the
away.
face.
You deserve to be angry. You deserve to be angry.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to teach you. I'm trying to teach you
Wizardry.
nothing
No,
more
don't
about
get
it.
it between me. Get it between me. That guy, I'm a feminist. That guy just hit me in the face.
Pushing you away.
Does it matter? Do I deserve it?
Not the same.
Oh, no condemnation by the CAJ there. And later, a puff piece was broadcast by the CBC about this jabroni's guitar shop. Unbelievable. Naturally, Bernier's Twitter account was suspended by the Silicon Valley censor for some 12 hours. Twitter said in a media statement that Bernier's tweets violated the company's private information policy. Oh, well, of course it did, just like President Donald Trump's did. Meanwhile, Twitter dare not suspend the accounts of terrorist groups and terrorist-friendly regimes. That might be culturally insensitive. Then CBC Radio Canada issued a press release offering support to journalists who have become the subject of online harassment because of the work they do. Quote, "It should be obvious to all Canadians that this harassment is unacceptable behavior. When the incitement to harass journalists comes from public figures, it is even worse. Criticism comes with the job, but online harassment, particularly inciting others to attack someone for doing their job, puts the safety of people at risk. That the worst of this abuse targets women and racialized journalists should make clear just how dangerous this is," end quote. Why does CBC always make it about race? And an email is an attack? And why does the CBC cover for a misogynist like Dion Buse? But you see, folks, the CBC hates the PPC. That's likely because this party, if it were to form government, would defund this taxpayer-subsidized factory of fake news. Finally, can you blame Mr. Bernier for going after the mainstream media, given their appalling coverage of him and his party? Here's the worst example. On the Friday afternoon before Election Day, consider what Alan Carter did on the uber woke joke that is AM 640 Toronto. The topic was the unexpected surge in the polls by the PPC. Now, that's definitely a good topic to cover. But the guest Carter interviewed to give insight on this story, well, that would be Dr. Barbara Perry, the director of the Center on Hate, Bias, and Extremism. What the hell? Hey, Alan, it's the PPC we're talking about here, not the KKK. Absolutely disgusting. So please, taxpayer-funded members of the MSM, spare us your tears already. And if you can't take the email heat, then just get out of the media kitchen, as opposed to smearing and censoring a party that does not agree with your appallingly PC value narratives. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Hey folks, can you believe it? Vaccine passports are now a fact of life in Ontario. No jabs, no jobs? Are you kidding me? You can't get into a movie theater, an indoor restaurant, a gym without proof of vaccination? That's not right. Please go to fightvaccinepassports.com. That's fightvaccinepassports.com. If you're able to, make a donation so that we can fight this medical apartheid.